Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming and sitting in the front.
I'm a little blind, so I always try to sit as close
Oh, really?
as possible.
All right. What's your name?
Xavier?
Xavier?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Soryu.
Sorry.
Nice to meet you. Hi. Nice red outfit. I like it. Welcome, everyone. So, today we'll be talking a little bit about sacrifice. Sacrifice. So often when people hear about sacrifice, they get a kind of a negative emotional tone in their body. Sacrifice feels bad somehow. So I thought I'd start with an uplifting quote. My uplifting quote is, I don't know who said this, so I can't quote the person who said it, but I appreciate them for saying it. It wasn't me, I didn't think this up. It is, if you don't live for something, then you'll die for nothing. An uplifting?
Yeah.
So to live for something is basically the same thing as dying for something. We live for something so that when we die, we will have died for that. In other words, we die for it every day. So living for something means dying for something constantly. And so basically, you don't get to decide whether you die. You don't get to decide whether everything is taken from you. You don't get to decide whether you lose everything. You don't get to decide whether everyone you love dies. You don't get to decide whether everyone you love is taken away and lost, forgotten, gone forever. That you don't have control over. So that's good. One less thing to worry about. Nothing you can do about that. You can't, no matter what you do, can't do anything about it, so why think about it? So let's stop thinking about that. The question isn't, are you going to die, and is everyone you love going to die, and is everything you love going to fall away? That will definitely happen, and it probably will happen relatively soon, within the next few decades, probably. Maybe several decades, maybe 100 years or so, and then all that will be gone. Okay, great. You do have control over the purpose of all that, what all that means. So you don't have control over if you die, but you have control over what you die for. You don't have control over what you lose, but you do have control over what you sacrifice all of that for. How do you let go? Not if you let go. And basically, as far as I can tell, if you look at the paths walked by the mystics of the centuries, you see a certain theme. And that theme is befriending loss, befriending death, befriending sacrifice. Now, there are two, as far as I talk about it, which is just one way to talk about it that has its strengths and weaknesses, just like everyone else's way of talking about it. So I don't say that this is the right way to talk about it, just how I talk about it. There are two different parts of the path. There's something called awakening, which means that we transcend ourselves. That means that we lose our perspective. We forget how we see things. We forget our worldview. We forget our assumptions, our opinions. That's awakening. It's also called wisdom. That's one part of the path. The other part of the path is behavior, or as I like to call it, responsibility. How do we live? And that is, how do we change things? What do we do for people? What do we do for the world? How do we make the world a better place? How do we act in a caring, loving, considerate, effective, impactful way? How do we behave in those good ways? And these two parts of the path each carry with them a certain kind of sacrifice. So if we consider losing track of ourselves, then that's a certain kind of sacrifice. And what is it? It's sacrificing the way we see things. And this is something that I think more and more in the world we are not doing. This kind of sacrifice, sacrificing my opinions, which is to say, this is how I see things, but for the time being, I won't see things that way. This is something that we in the world, and maybe especially, I'm not sure about this, but in certain ways anyway, especially in the United States, we don't really do. So you get, it seems anyway, this is what people say. I haven't lived very long, so I don't know much about this, but people say that more and more the political parties are getting more distant, meaning people get more and more far to the right, far to the left, and holding on to those positions more and more. So that basically nowadays you have kind of fascism versus socialism, you know? It's kind of weird. And I think that a lot of that comes from clinging, from taking a certain view and clinging to it very tightly. So a big challenge in terms of how we live in the world is in learning how to sacrifice the way we see things. In terms of our behavior, meaning sacrificing the way we perceive our perspectives. In terms of our behavior, basically what we need to sacrifice is what makes us comfortable, what we like, what makes us feel good, you know? You have certain things that we depend on to make us happy, and those are the very things that we may have to give up in order to do good things. And that can be hard. That can be difficult. We know that something's the right thing to do, but it makes us uncomfortable, and so we don't do it, since we want to avoid the discomfort. So that's giving up our desires. That's giving up our comfort. Shinzen Young teaches around here. He's a very good teacher, and he created the system that I teach. And he says that the basic ordering principle for human beings, the fundamental ordering principle for almost all human beings, is to go after comfort and understanding. So what makes my body comfortable and my mind understand is good. That's what I want. In fact, that is more than just what I want. It's good in an even bigger way. It is actually what good is. My personal understanding and my personal comfort, our collective understanding, our collective comfort, That's the point of the universe. The universe was created such that we could be comfortable and understand. And if the universe isn't fulfilling that principle, then the universe is messed up. It has to change. It has a big problem with it. And we need to do something about that and make a world in which we do get comfort and understanding, because that's the purpose of everything. And I think it's true. That is the fundamental ordering principle of humanity and of most human beings. So if we talk about sacrifice, what we're talking about is sacrificing our comfort and our understanding. That's what we're talking about. So we have an understanding, we have an idea of how things are, we have a certain worldview, we have a certain perspective. We give that up. Just like that. We let go of exactly that thing that we believe in. The Buddha at one point said something very nice. He said that there's an enemy. You could say an enemy of a person who practices spirituality, and the enemy is the thought, only this is true. You have something that you believe in, and you believe this is true. I got it. People who disagree with me are wrong. That's a terrible enemy that we have if we practice this path. We let go of those things. However we see things, we drop that. And we have a meditation practice in order to let go of how we see things. It's actually interesting because we find that we're actually letting go of how we see things all the time. We sit down, we attempt to quiet our minds, and we find that we believe something suddenly, very strongly. And then just a few seconds later, we disagree with that very thing, right? Our minds become frenetic. And then a few seconds later, we have a totally different perspective on things. And we find that the tighter we grasp onto those perspectives, the more we suffer, the less sense we make. And we discover that by letting go of that way of seeing things, by letting go of that understanding that we have, we come to an even deeper understanding. We find a kind of understanding that's deeper than the one that we had when we were holding on to a certain perspective. On the other side, this sense of comfort, we want things that make our bodies feel comfortable physically and emotionally. We want to be warm and well fed and well rested and well liked, happy, grateful, all of these things. We want that to be the way it is all the time. And that is exactly what we let go of when we practice this path. All of those things are what we let go of. And what's exciting about that is that then we come to an even deeper sense of comfort, an even deeper sense of, you could call it happiness. It's a kind of happiness that's deeper than happiness, if you wanted to put it that way. So whatever kind of happiness we willingly let go of, we happily let go of, whatever kind of happiness we have, whatever kind of comfort we have that we sacrifice, we discover that there's an even deeper kind of happiness and comfort that arises in its place. Whatever kind of happiness, comfort that we don't sacrifice, that we don't willingly let go of, we discover it's taken away anyway. Very soon it's taken away anyway, but it makes suffering. Suffering takes its place. We want something, we hold on to it, it's taken away. There's nothing you can do about that. You're gonna die, everyone you love is gonna die, everything you like is gonna pass away. That's the way it goes. If you hold on, you suffer. Or if you let go of those things fully, then in letting go of them, an even deeper sense of fulfillment and happiness arises in its place. The same thing with understanding. We have a certain worldview, we hold on to it really tightly, and then it turns out that it's wrong. It's wrong. Every view turns out to be wrong, including the view that every view turns out to be wrong. Every view works out. It turns out it's wrong. There was the head monk named Kyosan at the monastery I was at in Japan. At one point someone asked him, what is really the point of this path? It was so nice. It was a new person, obviously. So a new person came and asked, what's the point of this path? We were in the kitchen. I was the cook that day. I was trying to chop vegetables. And this new person, as Kyosan walked through trying to take care of some business, and he said, what's Kyosan? You're the head monk here. You know. What's the point of this path anyway? And he sort of stopped. He didn't fully turn to face them. He still has stuff to do. But he just stopped and said, you know, no matter what I tell you, no matter how I answer that question, there will be some other monk here who will disagree with that. And there are even people who will disagree with that. And then he walked away. It was a very nice answer. So whatever it is that we hold on to, whatever our view is, it's going to turn out to be wrong. We're going to be wrong. Whatever we believe, it'll be wrong soon enough. If we willingly let go of that, if we willingly drop that, then a deeper kind of wisdom of understanding takes its place. If we hold on to it anyway, then we become stupid. Really, we become wrong. We become, what do they call it? Bullheaded? What do they call it? Is that what? Bullheaded.
Yeah.
Bullheaded. Bullheaded. That's what we become. We become stuck in our ways, even though our ways are clearly incorrect. So it's interesting. We do have a certain amount of comfort. We do have a certain amount of understanding. If we hold on to that comfort and understanding, then we become suffering, bullheaded, bullheads. Is that how you say it?
Sure, that'll work.
Yeah, bullheads. Suffering, not wise people. I don't know what the word for that is. If we let go of those things, then we become smart, cow heads or something? It's the opposite of I don't know what that is. You become happy, fulfilled, smarties or something. The thing is, there's good news. There's even better news. The even better news is that we also feel uncomfortable sometimes, don't we? Well, good news, you can sacrifice that. Everybody wants to do that. Oh, I'll let go of the stuff I don't like. No problem. Get rid of it. So that's good. You can let go of that. You can drop that, let it go. And we're wrong about things, right? We often find that we're wrong. So we can let go of that as well. Just drop that. The things that you don't believe in, right? The things you don't agree with, drop those things. Well, that's not so hard. What can be a little bit hard and what comes with the sense of sacrifice is the ability to allow those things to arise, to allow the wrong, incorrect views to arise within us. Because it turns out that those are wisdom as well. There's a wisdom in those things. And to allow the discomfort, the sadness, loneliness, anger to arise in us as well. We let those things arise. There's a power there as well. There's a kind of ease that comes from not fighting against having those experiences. So the sense of sacrifice, again, if you look through the ages, through Christianity or through the Red Road, which is the native ways of this half of the world, what we call America, the Americas, this whole north-south big area. Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Islam, all of that, you see a consistent theme that the people who have really succeeded, pulled it off in all those traditions, have made friends with sacrifice, have seen that self-forgetting, self-sacrificing turns out to be more fulfilling than grabbing onto ourselves, grabbing onto views, grabbing onto things. And that those people consistently, for reasons that often seem confusing, why would it be? These people consistently talk about peace. Peace, happiness, love. It's so interesting. If our goal is to hold on, if our goal is to acquire, then we will be in competition with other people who also want to get things and acquire things. It will be definite. We'll definitely be in competition with those people. If our goal is to let go, though, then there's actually no one to compete with. We can all let go of everything. We can't all have everything, but we can all let go of everything. And if we gain the happiness and the wisdom from letting go of our possessions and our positions, then that creates the possibility of peace. Let's put it that way. It makes it at least possible. But a world based on competition, or a mind based on competition, on getting, precludes that possibility. So what this brings us to is the question of how do we practically do it? How do we sacrifice? How do we actually do it? We know that we'll lose everything. So there are really just two possibilities. One is we willingly lose everything, the other is we unwillingly lose everything. We've decided, okay, well then willingly losing everything is, as we put it in the email for today, the lesser danger. It seems like it's bad. It seems like we should be able to hold on, but if we willingly let go, then there's a lesser danger, meaning we still lose everything, but it results in happiness rather than suffering. But how do we actually do it? How do we actually pull that off? You know, let's say I've convinced you it's worth letting go of comfort and understanding. It's worth letting go of those things. How do we actually do it? So I'd like to introduce you to a few techniques for the next hour or so. A few specific techniques that allow you to work on this in a pragmatic way, to actually work on it, to know that as time is going on, I'm getting better at sacrificing my body, my mind, my life, and my death by losing my comfort and my understanding moment by moment. Because ultimately, this is a skill. It's something that we can get better at through work. And skills have typically ways of training those skills, and we call those techniques. And so let's begin with a series of, let's begin with a technique, and then we'll move through a few techniques that help us to drop the drive to hold on to my wants and opinions. So you can shake yourself around a little bit, you can stand up or whatever you want to do to get ready for this part. We're going to be sitting still for a little while. And take a moment to straighten your back, sit up tall, and relax. Relax. And pay attention for now, for a short time, to what you hear in the world around you. Pay attention to whatever you hear. It can be anything. It could be a sound in this room. It could be a sound outside of this room. It could be made by a person, an inanimate object. Anything is fine. Whatever you happen to hear in the world around you. But not for now what you hear inside of your mind, not the voices and such. Just bring your attention back to the world around you if your attention is drawn into those voices or tunes or whatever you might be hearing inside of your mind. And listen to the world around you. And the challenge for now, the skill that we're developing, the fun game that we're playing, you could say, if you want to think about it that way. The challenge is how fully, how consistently can you pay attention to the sound at this moment? And you'll find that the only way you can attend to the sound of this moment is by quickly, very quickly forgetting the sound of the last moment and also any thoughts you may have about anything. So if you notice that your attention is drawn to what your mind understands or to the comfort level of your body, then that's your big chance to bring your attention back to what you're hearing right now, right at this moment. It is possible, I should say, to get to the point when you can do this so fully that you don't understand what a person's saying while they're speaking because you've forgotten the beginning of the word by the time they say the end of it. Certainly you've forgotten the sentence, so you couldn't possibly get meaning, but you can't even understand the words because you're so fully attending to this moment that you've forgotten the beginning of the word by the time they've said the end of the word. That's a refreshing and vibrant state of mind. It's not weighted down by all this human understanding. Fresh, clear state of mind, aware of this moment's sound. Every next sound is unexpected, new, fresh. As we do this exercise, we're practicing forgetting. Forgetting to pay attention to what our minds understand. There isn't time for understanding. If we've had time to even know what a sound is, we've already missed the next one. There's no time to pay attention to whether our bodies are comfortable. The moment our attention goes to our bodies, we've lost track of these sounds. Of course, for many of us, we'll find ourselves thinking about this and that, feeling this and that. But that's good, because it gives us the opportunity to turn our attention away from those things and release the burden of our bodies and our minds. Bodies and our minds are useful tools, but it should be possible to put those tools down sometimes and give ourselves a rest. And so we notice the relief, the deep relief that comes from the moment of forgetting what we know and returning to hearing something completely new that we'll never hear again. Turn away from what we feel and listen to something fresh. It has nothing to do with me. So if thoughts, emotions, physical sensations arise, that's fine. It gives us the chance to forget them. Every time we turn our attention to what we hear in this moment, we have forgotten our comfort and our understanding. And gradually we feel a peace in that. That is a peace that cannot be taken away from us, because it's achieved when everything is taken away from us. So any given moment, we're either paying attention to the sound of this moment, which is by definition unexpected, unknown, fresh, new, vibrant, crisp. Or we're paying attention to something we're thinking or feeling, and we have the opportunity to forget that, to lose that, to sacrifice that, to the crisp awareness of this moment. Have the opportunity to experience the relief of sacrifice, of not holding on to what we think and feel. We're either exhilarated or sacrificing. We continue with this to cultivate that skill of sacrificing until we befriend it, until it no longer seems like a bad thing. And we have to let go of what we think and feel. On the contrary, it feels relieving. Refreshing. Feel free if you'd like to move your body a little bit. And feel free to continue with that exercise if you'd like. But sometimes that exercise, while it's a good medicine for a certain problem, can create its own problem. Sometimes it seems that we should repress, should dislike thinking and feeling. And we might wonder, is there a way to stay within thinking and feeling and still let go, still sacrifice? If you'd like, feel free to explore a technique that encourages us to do that. Take some time to consider with your thoughts and your feelings what you want to do with your future. And that could mean what you want to do this evening or tomorrow or this week. But for some people, it seems more fun to consider, what do I want to do with my life? So whatever definition of future works best for you, make use of that. And consider this until you have a clear sentence. A clear sentence in your mind that describes what you want to do. Again, it could be, I want to go to the store. Or it could be, I want to solve the problem of global warming. Could be anything, whatever works for you. But it should be a clear sentence. And also have a clear picture. Have a clear picture in your mind. What would it look like for me to do that? What does that look like? Watch yourself doing it. And since you can say it and see it, also pay attention to your body. What does it feel like to say that? What does it feel like to watch myself doing that? What does it feel like in my body? So it should be something that you want to do with your future, and also something for which you can find clarity in those three areas: saying, seeing, and feeling. It should be possible to say it clearly, see it clearly, and feel it clearly. But find something. You may need to try a number of different things until you can say it, see it, and feel it clearly. Something that you want to do with your future. And this way we're engaging our thoughts and our feelings in a clear way. It'll take a few minutes in order to do that. If you find something very quickly, then just stay with it. Continue to repeat that, continue to watch yourself, continue to explore the feelings in your body as you watch yourself doing it. Very good. This kind of exercise is often very interesting. Our minds, interesting creatures. Often it can seem that something like this we're clear about, but then we're not so clear after all. Other times it seems we're not clear, but turns out we're very clear. Times our minds go this way and that way. Sometimes how we think and how we feel aren't in harmony. It's very interesting, this inner world. And so many of us base our decisions on. It's okay, whatever that is. For another minute or so, explore this question: what do you want to do with your future? Meaning this evening, tomorrow, this week, the rest of your life, whatever works for you. So that you have a clear sentence, a clear image, and a clear feeling. That sentence probably will have many words. That image probably will have many components, and that feeling probably will have many emotions. Let's say it clearly, see it clearly, and feel it clearly. Very good. And now that you have that clear sentence, image, and feeling, improve it. Make it a little bit better. And notice that in order to make it better, it's necessary to let go of something in it. Some assumption, some attachment has to be dropped in order to improve it. It may not be at all clear how to improve it. So start dropping things. Start dropping things you're attached to or things that you're assuming. It may be very clear how to improve it. In that case, pay attention in particular to what is dropped as you improve it. What is lost? Pay attention to that in particular. As you practice this, you may enjoy going back to the first way that you said it and saw it and felt it. Try going back to that. Pick up that burden again. And then let go of it again. Come back to this new and improved thinking and feeling future idea. And feel again the weight drop off. Very good. And once again, feel free to move your body a little bit if you'd like. Very good. Once again, straighten up and settle in. You might have managed to use that to work through a possible problem created by the first exercise. Now we might have an aversion to thinking and feeling. But this one may have created its own problem. all these techniques, all these spiritual exercises always have strengths, but can create their own obstructions. They're pointing us towards something beyond themselves. But as we do them, we can get a little stuck. So it's useful to have different exercises to get out of those ruts. And the rut of this exercise may have been all this intention. All this intention. I want things to be this way. I want things to be that way. So now we have the chance to sacrifice intention itself. So take some time to do nothing. This technique isn't much of a technique, really. All it is whenever we notice that we're intending to see things in a certain way, think about things in a certain way, pay attention to things in a certain way. Anytime we're trying to get our minds to be a certain way, anytime we're trying to get ourselves to be a certain way, we drop that trying. Anytime we have the intention to change how we're paying attention, we drop that intention. So if you notice yourself trying to figure out what you want to do with your future, then drop that intention. If you notice yourself trying to be comfortable, drop that intention. If you notice yourself trying to do this exercise correctly, drop that intention. If you notice yourself trying to find some intention that you might have, drop that intention. If you notice yourself trying to drop an intention, drop that intention. Anytime you notice any intention arising, let go of it. And if it takes any effort, if it takes any trying to drop it, then drop that. Drop that intention. Drop that try. If you find that this exercise isn't working for you, then you can drop it for a little while or for the remainder of the period. It's not that this is a good exercise. You can return to one of the others we've done today or something else that you have practiced. Again, you can do something for a little while or for the rest of the period. Sometimes this exercise makes us disoriented. Within this exercise, that's just fine. Disorientation is an indication that we're doing the technique perfectly. But we may not like it, and that's fine. We don't have to do this. But we have the opportunity to sacrifice the intention to be oriented, to not be disoriented. It's just an opportunity. It's not a requirement. Sometimes this exercise makes people very clear, not disoriented at all, but very, very clear. And that also is an indication that we're doing this technique perfectly. Sometimes it makes us happy, and that's an indication that we're doing the technique perfectly. And sometimes it makes us sad, and that's an indication that we're doing the technique perfectly. Sometimes we become very wise, and that's an indication that we're doing the technique perfectly. Sometimes it makes us very ignorant, and that's an indication that we're doing the technique perfectly. Everything is an indication that we're doing the technique perfectly, because there's no intention to make things be a certain way. And perfection is what remains when we've lost the intention to make things be a certain way. We did a lot of different stuff, didn't we? A lot of different stuff just happened. A lot of different things happened in here over the past hour. And I'm interested in it. So what was it? Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for the prompt to drop intention, because that's something that I've been holding on to for a very, very long time.
Oh.
And served me well, but it's also nice to be in the flip side of that. So.
Mm-hmm. Great. Great. You enjoyed that.
Very much.
Great.
I like that.
Oh, great.
It's one that I like.
Great.
Surprisingly, because I was thinking that I would have intentions, but then I really like commenting on it. I realized like I was feeling a lot uncomfortable when you have.
Uh-huh.
Just because like I'm a little like sleep deprived and just like hungry, so I'm a little
Uh-huh.
shaky.
Uh-huh.
But just letting it go, like just not so much.
Great.
Trying not to make myself feel better. Make me feel better.
Isn't that strange? It's very strange. We use that strategy so much.
My friend just left for a year for Peru,
Mm-hmm.
but she told me something before she left. She's like, anytime you do anything, whether you go to the bathroom or to the fridge or you want to say something to somebody, just ask yourself what your intentions are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even believe like how much like you will find yourself not doing things and just like doing something different instead.
When you do that exercise.
No, just like when you ask yourself what your intentions are.
Uh-huh. So when you ask yourself
Oh
what your
yeah, okay,
intentions are,
that's yeah.
then sometimes you change what you're going to do.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
instead of reacting a certain way,
Uh-huh.
create something different.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Using that.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, intentions. What was that?
It's helpful to like to be where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, intentions are the classic container that sustain, that hold, that protect patterns. Intentions are a really good way to keep patterns going. And we don't usually notice that. We don't notice that we think, well, I intend to do such and such. But a lot of the time that intention is just triggered by such and such. And isn't, I think the way you're putting it, a clear intention. It's just as you can put it, a reactive intention. And so it actually ends up being the link. There's a certain circumstance, there's a certain behavior, right? The circumstance can prompt the intention to do the behavior. And often that behavior can create that same circumstance. Even though we didn't notice that, we thought, no, I intend to do something different. But again, we do the something different, we do something different this time, and we get the same result again. And we start to notice, oh wait, that intention hasn't changed. The intention is actually still the same. The intention every time has been to, whatever it is, get a different result. So the intention's the same, the result's the same. Interesting. So one thing you can do, I think as you put it well, is actually very similar to the second exercise we did. Did you notice that? So what you're describing and from what your friend said is almost exactly the same as the second exercise we did. That you have an intention, and then you try to improve upon it. You drop parts of it, you restructure it to get a new one.
I think I missed the first section of exercise with that. So I might have missed like.
Yeah, sure. No, I wouldn't surprise me. The way you put it and the way I put it are very different. So sometimes when words are different, we think that the meaning is different, but occasionally the meaning's the same, even though the words are different. So the second exercise was examine the intention you have, and then make a better one. Examine it, make a better one. And notice that the making a better one, a lot of that is actually in losing parts of the first one. We often don't notice that part of it. That's why I pointed it out specifically. Sometimes we think I'm going to make a new intention. We think I'm going to get something. I'm going to get a new intention. We don't notice that we actually have to lose something. We lose portions of, or sometimes the entire old one. So the noticing of losing is really useful. So that's one method. Then the other method is actually industrial strength. Because you just throw out all the intentions. Sometimes it's like that, you know. Sometimes if I have to clean my room or something, or I have to clean off my desk, sometimes it's easier to just take everything off of the desk. Everything. Just dump it on the floor, and then put the things back on the desk that I want, as opposed to just taking certain things off. What?
I did in my room last night.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, it's just you make a total disaster zone, and then make sense of the disaster zone. So in that way, we make a quote disaster zone, otherwise known as perfection, when we throw out all the intentions. Just all the intentions go. Whatever the intention is, drop that one, and we can start fresh. So that's great. It's nice that so much of your life is consonant with what we're doing this evening.
The book I'm reading right now is literally like paragraph for paragraph, like everything that's happening to me.
Perfect. That's great.
One thing I thought that was very interesting, at the beginning of this talk, I was rationalizing everything, like, oh, what are these things that you're talking about in my life, and then like, you know, letting go of them, and then what is it? Do I let go? Do I let go of this? And I was just, you know, in my head was just working so fast, and then, you know, we got into the meditation part, and I just started to, you know, observe and take the wisdom from the rationalized thought that I had, but then really let it go and be in the moment. And then, you know, we found that first intention, and I was like, yeah, like, wow, you know, like I'm with this. This is awesome. I can see how I'm doing this. And then you're like, okay, now make it better. And then I was like, whoa, like, you know, I would have ended up self-sabotaging with that intention. This intention is like, and then it was like, drop that intention. It was like, yeah, because that intention, the best intention, is found in thoughtlessness, is found in flow, is found in, you know, expansion and just, you know, just moving with the rhythms of energy.
Yeah.
And the thought is, so it was an amazing journey, you know, going from there to at the end, just like, I am just here in the moment and nothing else exists, you know?
Did anyone else have that experience? Experience like that, meaning at the basically to summarize, you said big stuff, but I'm just gonna bring it down to something a little more general, because your experience was magnificent and profound, but I think I had the impression that the group as a whole had something of the experience of going from thinking a lot, rationalizing a lot, to thinking less, rationalizing less, experiencing more by the end. Did anyone have that experience? Yeah, so.
Well, but at the beginning, you said, I think before we started with the thing you want to do with your life, you said, let go of this and let go. Wasn't there an exercise that started with letting go?
Yeah.
The sound.
The sounds, yeah.
The sounds.
The sound, yeah, but even after the sound, what was the thing right after the sound?
I think after the sound was set an intention and then improve upon it.
Oh, I thought there was something else because I'm confused now.
Well, I think that I was telling you to let go of thoughts and feelings by paying attention to sounds.
Okay, because I know that right after the sound thing, I went into, somehow I said, oh, okay, I just started going through all the pieces of my life. There is no husband, there is no friends, there is no house, there is no cat, there is no, and I just like, And anyway, I'm just kidding. That was, and then it felt like this whole shift.
Yeah.
Joy. Not that I don't love all those things. I do. It's not like, oh, they're horrible in my life. They're not. But it was just a deeper sense of what you're describing at the end of all of those things happened to me in that moment that I really got just the present with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. It's important for us to remember that no matter how good the thing is that we get, no matter what we get, we still have to have it. Once you get it, you have to have it. That's something that people forget often. No matter what it is, even if it's great, you still have to have it. There's always a price, no matter how good something is. You have to have it. And having it is burdensome, whatever it is. It can be good enough that it's okay. You want to have it because it's good. It's so good that you still want to have it. But having it is itself difficult. Having is of itself burdensome. And we often forget that. It's easy to forget. And because we forget it, we forget what we just did. Does that make sense? So you two are talking very clearly about an experience. Talking about an experience of letting go. And that is the simplest thing. There couldn't be something simpler than what you're referring to. And yet, the vast majority of human beings have forgotten to ever do it. Most human adults never do that and then die. Really. Most of us constantly try to have more opinions. When I went to college, I was shocked. That's why I left college and went to a monastery. Because I found at college, everyone's goal was to have the right opinion. What's wrong with you people? This is never going to work. This is a terrible project. Everybody was just trying to be right. I got to get out of here. This is crazy. This is terrible. So we try to get the next right thing and the next happier thing, and then die, without ever noticing that it's possible to do what you're referring to, let go of things.
I don't know if anyone was listening to NPR this morning, but on the drive to work, and it was a repeat, and heard before, it was a Benedictine monk, brother. I put it on my phone. I'll check. Anyways,
Gratefulness?
He was talking about gratefulness, yes.
Yes.
And he was
What
saying
is his name? He's a friend of mine.
Something
And
Stendhal.
I've forgotten his name.
David Stendhal Rost.
Yes. Brother David. He's actually the real thing. I just want to let you know. I know him. He's actually is what he.
It was great.
Yeah.
Hearing him talk.
He is that.
And he was talking about how
Yeah.
we go through that loop of like we set a goal, something we want, and then we get it. We feel grateful in that time that we have that, and then we set a new goal and we run for that. We get it, and we just keep making the bowl of want larger and larger and larger, and so we're constantly needing, and we have that feeling of never being satisfied. Versus his suggestion or recommendation for truly feeling grateful was to get fulfilled and then let your cup overfill and flow out into those around you, rather than creating a bigger bowl next time. Give that extra plenty that you've created, that bounty of energy, and now you have that to give.
That's great.
Nothing is all I want. One of the things, I am lucky. One of the other lucky things is when I approached my late 50s, I would walk into a room for something and forget why I went there. And it caused consternation for a while. I don't know how long, but eventually realized that it couldn't have been that important. And that when its importance strikes me, I'll be able to go back and take care of it. But that whole concept of, in a sense, not needing something that was that important, but having to have the control of being able to go get it. Was great.
Yeah.
And to let go of that decreases worry and concern with intention, because it will come back round.
So that's not decreasing memory, it's increasing wisdom.
Me too. Feel better already.
The young man here that's been wanting to speak. I feel like I came out of a sensory deprivation chamber. So,
That exercise you mean was like a sensory deprivation
Yes.
chamber? Uh-huh. Which one?
the listening one.
Oh, great. Very good. Tell me more.
I sit there and I listen to the heater, and then, 20 minutes later, I try to open my eyes. I can't.
Mhm.
I can't open my eyes.
Mhm.
So I have to slowly lift my arm up and just try to like open my eye, my arm. It was crazy. And I still feel that way right now.
Mhm. When you paid attention to the sounds, did you continually pay attention to them for that 20 minutes or so? By the end of the 20 minutes, were you still listening to sounds?
Yeah.
Mhm. So at the end of the 20 minutes, you were still hearing sounds around you. You weren't paying attention to anything else.
No.
You didn't have any thoughts in your mind. You didn't really feel anything in your body, because otherwise you would have been able to open your eyes or move your hand quickly. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah. And at the more or less at the end of the 20 minutes, the experience of hearing the sounds had joined with the experience of not having other experiences. Which is to say, I'll give you a word for that. The word is restfulness. So there was a restfulness in what you had in your mind and what you had in your body. Your mind was at rest, your body was at rest. Sounds, the world was active. You could hear sounds, but your mind was at rest and your body was at rest. Is that correct?
Yep.
And they had joined. Is that true?
I think so.
Was there a conflict between the sounds, activity, and the internal restfulness?
A little bit.
There was a conflict between them? Can you tell me about that?
So my insides felt so quiet
Mm-hmm.
and inactive. And the sounds outside just got it felt slightly louder and louder as time went on.
Did it feel louder in being crisper, or did it feel louder in being jarring?
Good question. I think it felt a little crisper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not jarring?
No.
Then what was the conflict? How was there a conflict between hearing the sounds, active on the outside, and not thinking or feeling anything in particular on the inside?
It felt like there was a barrier,
Mhm.
with a bubble around me.
Uh-huh.
That there was this bubble of nothing. And then outside the bubble, there's sounds
Mhm.
and activity.
Mhm.
And inside the bubble is just me and nothing else.
And what's the conflict between something on the outside and nothing inside of that bubble?
It felt like, oh, how do I explain this? It felt like the sounds were becoming more intertwined.
Mhm.
So there were other sounds besides the one I was focusing on. So there was stuff like footsteps and such. And that got really, it felt like the sounds from the heater were beating with the footsteps.
Mhm.
It was very strange.
Mhm.
Very strange to me.
Yeah, you're putting it very skillfully. You're phrasing this very well. So you called it intertwined.
Yes.
The one sound and then the various sounds were beginning to flow together,
Mhm.
or flowing in the same.
Yes.
And then there was also nothing happening on the inside.
Yes.
And that was not flowing in the same way? Is that why there was a conflict?
Yes.
So there was something on the inside that was very restful and not flowing. And then everything on the outside was starting to flow together, become one single flow.
Yes.
Excellent. So this may or may not ever happen again, right? May or may not ever happen again. You may experience that again, you may not. If you experience it again, then there's a big challenge for you, which can be fun. Why not? And the challenge is, without pressing too much, without pushing for this, without grabbing on and trying to get something to happen, explore that conflict. How is it? You're actually talking about 3 different things right now. And 2 of them became not in conflict. But one of them, strangely, was still in conflict, even though it was actually had become the dominant experience. Talking about something, nothing, and everything. You had a something, the sound of the heater. That something resulted in a nothing on the inside. So there was something and nothing. And because you kept on paying attention to that something, it began to become everything, the entire world. And you could actually experience that. It wasn't just an idea, some book that people read. Oh yeah, sure. It was an actual experience that you had that, whether or not it's written in books, you still had it. So the something and the everything began to mingle, began to intertwine. But the nothing did not intertwine. The nothing was in conflict, just to a certain extent. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But the nothing, actually, from what you're saying, sensory desperation, seems like the nothing was the dominant experience, was the salient, the powerful, the significant experience there, the new experience that struck you to your heart. And that nothing then simply has to be carefully explored. How can nothing and everything not be in conflict? And that isn't going to be explored by thinking it up, because that's just going back to something. Every view you have is just something else. But this is about everything and nothing. It doesn't matter what you think about that. So if it arises again, which it may or may not, then you have the challenge of exploring this nothing and this everything. Are they in conflict? In what way are they in conflict? How could they be in conflict? How could they not be in conflict? Without trying to press for an answer to that question. Because if you press for an answer to the question, you know what's going to happen.
It'll
Right?
become something.
Yeah, exactly. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's very well put. It's simultaneously very exciting that you had that experience, you know? I suppose there are a lot of people here in the room who are excited to hear someone describe an experience like that. But it's actually a very normal experience. If you do these techniques, you have experiences like that. It's not something to get too attached to. It is something to take as very exciting, because it shows that something can really come from this. A direct experience, a completely new way of seeing things, a completely new way of living, a completely new way of perceiving, of understanding me, the world. It's a fundamental shift, and you got a little taste of that. Anything else you want to talk about? Great. Is it 6:51 or 6:57? My watch has it missing.
6:52.
6:51.
Great. Anything else? We still have some time. 3 minutes to be exact. Yeah.
I'm curious about the relationship between burden and sacrifice, carrying a burden and sacrifice.
Great, that's great. Love it. Especially for us, right? Christian background. Most people here seem to be from Europe, which got taken over by Christianity several centuries ago. So we have a bunch of Christian background, right? And in Christianity, that's exactly right. You take up your cross. You make your sacrifice by taking up your cross. So do you want to say something about that, or should I? I think we only have time for one of us.
Go right ahead, please.
So there are basically, just as you say, there are two ways of sacrificing. There are two ways of letting things happen. You can let something go, and you can let something come. You can drop something, or you can receive something. And both of them you can call sacrifices. Either way, it's a sacrifice. Either way, actually, you're getting something and you're losing something. Either way, you're gaining and losing. It just depends on which side of it you're paying attention to. It's absolutely valid. And I would be very hypocritical if I said it wasn't, because my life is one of working hard at things and taking on challenges. I like the word challenge. You've heard me use it a lot today. I have goals, have aspirations, try to make them happen. And I try to gain the wisdom of how to do that from the world. I try to receive from the world what's needed. And then do that. So that taking on is absolutely a valid form of sacrifice. In fact, once we do have the experience that the two of you so eloquently described of letting go, that is then the thing to let go of. And when you let go of letting go, you receive, you take on. And taking that on then is what you might call our vow. We have a vow. I call it a vow. We have a responsibility to the world, to ourselves, to all living things, and we take that on, and we become that. So if you're going to take that on, then take on something that you can totally live. Live it totally, live for it. Live for it totally, live it, become it. If you're gonna take that on, then become it totally. And if you're gonna let go of it, then let go of it totally. Both are sacrifice. The question is one of the totality. Are we totally letting go? Are we totally taking on? The totality is the measure of the sacrifice, as opposed to whether we happen to be carrying something or dropping something. The totality is is the measurement of our willingness, of our surrender. And the word sacrifice originally meant surrender. So the extent of our Islam, if you want to use that word to use a different tradition, the extent of our surrender, the word Islam means surrender. The extent of that surrender can be roughly measured by the totality with which we receive something, or the totality with which we drop something. And you see, I don't know if you've noticed, but my posture changes when I talk about it. I sit up straighter. I have more energy because the totality is what brings us to the death. The totality of our letting go is what brings us to life. So that's how it's done. That's the reality of it. Again, it's not just something in a book. It's an experience that we actually have. It's in books, which is nice. It's sweet that people were kind enough to write about it, but they couldn't write about our direct experience. And so that's something we take responsibility for. Thanks for clarifying that. All right, so now let's talk about taking things on. What are some responsibilities we can take on? What are some things we can do for the world this week? Yes, get us started. What are some good actions we can do to make the world a better place?
There is a webinar on global warming and climate change on Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9:30. That's free. It may be at a different time because it seems to be taking place in Australia.
It is 11 now.
Might not be Wednesday either.
Right.
And because it's a webinar, it's on the internet, so you can ask me.
Is that our time?
We can, I'll Google it on my phone here.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday in Australia, it's Tuesday here sometime.
Yeah,
Unless
that's
it's-
a good point.
Unless the reason it's in the morning is that it's an evening in Australia, so
Yes.
let's find out.
But you can ask me for the.
Oh, he's getting it. He's getting it right now. He's
Oh,
looking.
no, but if you're interested in knowing how to
Oh, great.
sign up and so on. Yeah, that's what we have. So if you have anything to share that you know about locally or something good that you could do, feel free to share it at this time.
I'm gonna be doing a penguin plunge.
Oh, very good.
Has any money they would like to donate?
Yes. Yes.
It goes for the Special Olympics.
Special Olympics, great. Great. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
What's your team name?
I'm part of the Bell Cape Bulldogs, Bell Cape Bird Dogs, because we're cold.
We're actually looking for
Yeah.
students at the school that I go to participate in the penguin plunge.
Great. Great.
And teachers if they want.
Are you doing it?
No, I haven't signed up yet.
Yeah. I can understand that. Anything else? Yes. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, the webinar is going to be on January 26th, which is Tuesday, from 4 to 5:30, and that's in our time zone, Eastern.
PM. PM.
PM, and it's localfutures.org. The title is Climate Change or System Change, Pathways Beyond Paris.
Great. Excellent. Well, then I'll say something to round it out to 3. 3 is a nice number. You could, if you get paid on an hourly basis, then you could work 1 hour for some charity and then just give however much you made in that hour to a charity. So work that hour for a charity. I find it actually makes the work of that hour much more fun also. So it gives you a chance to be happy yourself and also to make the world a better place. Sounds like that's a possible one, local futures and climate change or system change. That's a possibility. All right, well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for being willing to sacrifice your lives. It's better than the alternative, which is just to lose your life. And it's very exciting that we have a community that does that together. It's much more powerful done together. It's wonderful to see you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.